My wife slept with men from a bar, claiming she deserved it for having a baby, so I gave her payback. I, 32 male, married my wife Janet, 26 female, 3 years ago. We have a 7-month-old daughter. A couple of days back, I found something in her bag that blew my mind. It was a pack of condoms. I'm not the kind of guy who checks his wife's bag, but this time it was urgent. My wife was in the shower, and I needed a diaper to change my baby. I had put the baby on the changing table, and then I realized we had run short of one. I remembered my wife keeps a few diapers in her bag when she takes the baby for a walk. Her bag was lying near the baby counter, so it was easier for me to grab it. I opened it and found 2 diapers inside. While pulling one out, something fell from the bag to the floor, a pack of condoms. It was a pack of 3. The packet was open and only had 1 left. I checked the bag to see if the remaining 2 had fallen inside, but they were not there. That meant 2 had already been used. My baby was crying profusely, so I kept the condom inside my pocket and changed my baby. When Janet came out of the shower, I put the baby in the crib, pulled out the condom from my pocket, and asked Janet about it. The actor in her came out, and she outright denied it. She said it wasn't hers and tried to gaslight the situation, pinning it on me. I was shocked at how smoothly she could lie. I said I found it in her bag, but she replied, "But you just pulled it from your pocket, right?" I flipped out because she wasn't ready to accept it was hers. Then she burst out laughing and said, "Oh, poor you, look at your puppy face. I was messing with you." She winked as she said this. It was evident she was lying because we don't use protection. She's breastfeeding, and her cycle hasn't returned, so we don't use protection now. She dismissed me, saying her cycle was back to normal, so we might need protection if we don't want back-to-back kids. I asked her what happened to the other 2 condoms. There was just 1 inside the packet, but it should have been 3. She laughed and said it was a funny story. Yesterday, she bought it, then went out with friends. A guy was hitting on her friend Kyle, and things got heated up between them. They went to find a corner but didn't have a condom, so she lent them too. I gave her a look of disbelief and said, "Do you expect me to believe this?" She said yes, because that was the only truth. She even said I could call Kyle and ask for myself. I didn't call her because if Janet was lying, then Kyle was obviously on board and would lie too. So, what's the point? I didn't call her but told Janet that I wasn't buying her crap, so she needed to come clean about whatever she had been up to. Now, she's gaslighting me and trying to guilt-trip me, saying I don't trust her. She's weeping, saying I don't understand her and that she just delivered a baby and is going through postpartum depression. And amidst all this, I'm accusing her of cheating. I've not tried to make things up with her, I've left it that way, but she's made the environment murky. She's just curling up in bed in a dark room, refusing to switch on the lights, saying she doesn't like the brightness and she's not eating at all. I'm not sure how she is when I'm not home, but this is what she's been doing since the confrontation. I'm the one who usually apologizes right after our fights because, you know, hardly any woman breaks the ice and says sorry first. However, this time, I just don't feel like apologizing at all. I don't think I did anything wrong by asking her upfront about the condoms. Do you guys think I could have done anything differently? Seriously, if she's using postpartum depression as a get-out-of-jail-free card for handing out condoms like Halloween candy, maybe it's time for a different kind of delivery, a reality check. Though I have to admit, her excuse game is stronger than her commitment to honesty. As for what you could have done differently, well, you could have packed your own emergency condom in the diaper bag. Or who knows? Maybe next time she'll pull out a clown nose and claim it's for stress relief. Update 1. Thank you for engaging with my post. You guys are right in saying she flashed the red flag right across my face. Yes, she did, and I didn't let it slide. Some of you asked for more information about Janet to comment on the situation. Well, Janet and I have known each other for over 6 years. We met at a friend's party. She was the most gorgeous woman there. We spent the evening together talking, dancing, and having fun, but I forgot to ask for her number. I'm not a party person, but it was my friend's promotion party, and he insisted I attend. I asked my friend about Janet, and he said he didn't know her either. She was his colleague's friend. I requested my friend to ask his colleagues for Janet's number. He was reluctant to do so because my friend was married, and he didn't want his colleagues to think he was hitting on Janet. After a lot of convincing, he got her number. I kept it for a week before texting her. I didn't know how she would take it. I didn't want to come across as desperate or cheap. I mean, she was gorgeous, and I'm sure there were many men at the party who wanted her number. Nonetheless, I mustered the courage and messaged her. Luckily, she replied that she regretted not asking for my number. From there on, we hit it off. She was working a part-time job. She said she didn't have a full-time job because it involved a lot of commitment, and she liked to live freely on her terms. That could have been a red flag, but I didn't think of it that way. I was deeply immersed in my work and was not enjoying it. I wanted to be free like her, so it kind of clicked for me. After dating for 2 years, I proposed to her, and we got married in a close ceremony with friends and family. Janet didn't want to spend money on a grand wedding. She wanted to use that money for a vacation instead. After the wedding, we went on a 15-day trip to Europe. 1.5 years after the marriage, Janet got pregnant. She freaked out because we didn't plan it that way. We wanted to travel the world together and do a bunch of stuff before having a baby. She wanted to get rid of it. I was not happy with her decision. I love kids and wanted one. But since she had different plans, I never forced her into pregnancy. But when she got pregnant unexpectedly, I tried to convince her to keep the baby. She was in two minds, but ultimately, she kept it. Pregnancy is tough and cranky for women anyway, and since I was the one who convinced her to keep it, I had to face the brunt of it. I did everything to keep her happy. Thankfully, her pregnancy was without complications, yet she threw tantrums, and I happily took it because, it was her time. After the baby came, she became worse. I thought it was because of the lack of sleep and tiredness from nursing the baby. She got so depressed, feeling caged, that she couldn't have her former freedom. I took her to therapy, and the doctor said it was postpartum depression, which was natural for all women post-delivery. I tried everything to give her the freedom she needed. I hired a full-time nanny so she could have free time to herself. Our daughter was 2 months old when Janet resumed her life of partying and going out with her friends as she used to before. I never stopped her because the doctor said a happy mom would nurture her baby. 7 months later, here we are, I found a condom in her bag, and she's throwing her best friend under the bus to save her pretty butt. Coming to the updates, as I mentioned earlier, Janet was trying to gaslight the situation, but I didn't give in. I told her if she thought she could put up an act and get away with her actions, then she was wrong. I'm not going to let this go until she tells me the truth because what she said earlier was pure BS. Since she wasn't opening up, I started digging on my own. I wanted to check her phone, but she's so guarded about it that I could never access it. Even when she would sleep, she kept it next to her or under her pillow. She has always been like that with her phone, so I never questioned her. Directly asking her to show her phone wasn't an option either. She would make a big fuss about how I was doubting her and blah blah. I don't know how else to get the evidence because this woman has no conscience, and she's not going to confess. Any suggestions are greatly welcomed. If Janet's guarding her phone like it's a state secret, you might need to channel your inner James Bond and get a bit creative. Maybe you could enlist the help of a distraction master, like, I don't know, a baby with an insatiable curiosity for shiny objects? While Janet's busy wrangling the little one, you could sneakily swipe her phone and dive into the depths of her digital secrets. Or hey, if you're feeling particularly bold, you could try the classic accidental spill maneuver. Oops, honey, looks like I accidentally knocked over my drink onto your phone. Let me grab some paper towels while you clean that up. Just make sure you've got a backup plan for when she starts suspecting foul play. And maybe a pre-packed suitcase and a one-way ticket to a land where lies and deception are just a distant memory. Remember, in this game of cat and mouse, sometimes the mouse has to get a little crafty to outsmart the cat. Just watch out for any trapdoors. Janet might be hiding more than just her phone in her bag of tricks. Update 2, thanks for the advice. As most of you suggested, I was about to hire a PI on her, but before that, I found a way myself. One Sunday, I just thought of stalking her social media account. I couldn't find anything from a public view, but her picture with her best friend Kyle caught my eye. I stalked Kyle's profile and got to know she was married and had a toddler. The other day, Janet said that Kyle was making out with a guy at a bar and needed the condom. I was like, wait a minute, does her husband know about all this? I went to Janet and said, hey, I'm sorry that I doubted you about the condom thing. I trust you. If you said it was Kyle, it should be her. She smiled at me. I asked her if Kyle does this often. She said yes and started listing down some incidents where Kyle made moves on men at the bar. I didn't know how true it was or if she was just making it up to cover for herself. After listening to her supposedly funny incidents about Kyle, I dropped the bombshell. I said, well, that's funny. By the way, isn't Kyle married and doesn't she have a toddler? Are you guys supporting her in her cheating? Does her husband know about all this? She froze like an iceberg and then started ranting, no, that's not what I meant. It's just healthy flirting and nothing else. I intervened. But you just shared so many stories of her picking up men from the bar. And why would she need a condom for healthy flirting? She said, oh, did I say Kyle? My bad stupid pregnancy brain. I meant Kiara, my single friend. She's the one who's goofing around. Kyle is the sober one, she doesn't do all that stuff. I was in awe of how swiftly this woman could make up stories. I laughed and said, I caught you. You don't have to save Kyle's butt. Are you worried that I would tell Kyle's husband the truth? She said, yes, please don't do that. It would ruin their marriage. They have a baby. Please, she loves her husband dearly. It was just meaningless sex and nothing more. I looked at her with a smile. I knew she was lying for herself, not for Kyle. Everything she told me about Kyle was actually Janet's, but she wouldn't confess so easily. I told her I wasn't feeling good about Kyle cheating on her husband, so I was going to tell her husband everything. Janet screamed at me, why are you acting like a saint? Who are you to do the moral policing here, and blah blah blah. I said I wasn't listening to anything. I'm going to tell Kyle's husband everything. She mellowed down and started sobbing. I got the vibe that she was about to confess, but I wasn't ready for it yet. I stormed inside my room and locked it. I didn't want her to get away with her infidelity by just confessing. I wanted my revenge. This cheating is not only going to cost her the marriage, but also her friendship. I texted Kyle on Instagram and told her that Janet had told me about her dirty little secret. She was aghast. I sent her the recordings where Janet was ranting stories about Kyle's affair. Kyle left me on read, but I heard Janet's phone ringing a few moments later. Janet was banging at the door, crying and yelling. "Why are you doing this to me? Open the door. Why are you destroying everything? Why can't you trust me?" She was probably still on the phone with Kyle because she yelled, "He's not opening the door. God knows what he's up to." Then Kyle called me. She asked me to listen to Janet. I said I wasn't going to listen to anyone, and the next thing I would do was send the recording to her husband. She freaked out and pleaded with me not to do anything before listening to Janet. I said I was going to call her husband, and then we could both listen to all the stories together. She blurted out that whatever Janet said wasn't Kyle's story but Janet's, and she had been cheating on me for over 4 months. I asked her why she didn't stop her friend. Kyle said she and the other girls did try to knock some sense into her, but Janet would argue that she gave me a beautiful baby, so she deserved this little pleasure. Fair enough. I was convinced that Kyle was telling the truth. My gut feeling hinted at this truth long before, but I wanted to cut off all support systems for Janet. I asked Kyle to come over along with her husband. I don't know if I went too far, but I wanted Kyle's husband to know what a piece of crap Janet was and that he should keep Kyle away from her. Kyle agreed to come, but she requested that I not show the recordings to her husband because Janet was so good at storytelling that anyone would believe it to be true. She didn't want her husband to doubt her unnecessarily. I said fine. Kyle was at my house within an hour. I was locked in my room until she arrived. The moment she came, I heard Janet shouting at her, "Why are you here? I told you I'd manage. Now go away. I'm going to deal with this." I came out while Kyle was yelling at Janet for falsely framing her. It was just too much chaos, with both of them screaming at each other. Kyle's husband intervened and asked Janet to tell her side of the story. Kyle gave Janet a look as if to say, "Don't you dare lie." Janet sobbed and confessed everything. She admitted that the incidents she had told me were not about Kyle, they were all hers. She had been picking up men from the bar and sleeping with them. Kyle's husband was shocked that Janet was such a witch. She was cheating and then making her friend a scapegoat to get away with it. He yelled at Kyle, "This is the kind of friend you've been hanging out with?" Or she was about to wreck our marriage. After Janet was done with her confession, Kyle and her husband stood up and left. Kyle said, "Don't you ever contact me. I love my husband and my family. You are not worth losing them." Janet held Kyle's hand and started crying, but Kyle shrugged her off and walked away. After they left, Janet looked at me and said, "Are you happy now? What did you gain by humiliating me in front of my friend and her husband? Is this what men do?" I glared at her and said, "Your woman card is not going to work anymore. You've used all your cards, pregnancy, postpartum, everything. Now I'm going to show you the consequences of your actions. The humiliation you're talking about is just halfway through. You have more to come. This is not over. You said you deserved to cheat on me because you gave me a baby, right? I'm going to give you what you deserve. Just wait." I took my stuff and went into the other room. I called my lawyer and discussed my case. I told him to find any loopholes in the law and get me full custody of my daughter. He asked me to gather all the evidence of Janet's negligence toward the baby, like her drinking and partying habits and her hookups. He said he would build a case around child safety, that it wasn't safe for a child to live with a mother who brings new men into the house every day. I don't know how promising this is, but I'm definitely up for a fight to have full custody of my little girl. I'm going to protect her from her liar and cheater mother. I'll update you when all this is over. Looks like Janet's little house of cards came crashing down faster than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. Who knew playing detective on social media could lead to such a dramatic reveal? But hey, at least you finally peeled back the layers of Janet's deceit like a particularly juicy onion. And speaking of onions, it seems like she's crying enough tears to water a whole field of them. But sorry, Janet, no amount of crocodile tears is going to undo the mess you've made. Now it's time for the real show to begin, the legal battle for custody. It's like a high-stakes game of Monopoly, except instead of hotels on Park Place, you're fighting for the future of your daughter. And let's be honest, Janet's behavior makes her about as trustworthy as a used car salesman in a clown suit. So gear up, strap in, and get ready to fight tooth and nail for your little girl. And hey, if Janet wants to play the victim card, she better be prepared for you to bring out the whole deck of evidence against her. It's time to show her that actions have consequences, and cheating your way through life doesn't fly when there's a child's well-being at stake. Update 3, sorry, I had to delete my last update. I had revealed my lawyer's plan for getting full custody from Janet, which I shouldn't have done. The day after posting the update, when I met my lawyer, he asked me not to discuss the case with anyone. I told him I posted this on Reddit anonymously. He asked me to delete it as soon as possible. Now that everything is over, I've reposted it. It's available on my profile page. I'm still not allowed to get into the nitty-gritty of the law, but here are the other details. After the confrontation, I slept in the guest bedroom. I tried to have minimal encounters with Janet. She would try to get close to me and make me breakfast and dinner, but I shrugged her off. She even made a sorry cake and bought flowers and cards. She thought I would get over it once my anger subsided. She had no clue what was coming her way. Almost a month later, my lawyer came to my place with the divorce papers. Janet freaked out. She was terrified when she was served. She looked at me helplessly, asking, "What are you doing? How could you do this to me?" After the attorney left, I asked her to pack her stuff and leave. She cried and pleaded for a chance to save our marriage for the sake of the baby. She tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. She said she had nowhere to go. I chuckled and said, "Not my problem anymore. I gave you everything you wanted. Now I'm going to give you what you deserve, and you deserve to be on the streets." She threatened to take away the last penny I had. I said, "Sure, good luck hiring a lawyer. The good ones don't come for free unless you want to spread your legs to pay them." She went toward my daughter's nursery, but I blocked her, saying, "Whoa, you're not getting her. She's not living on the streets with you." She broke down, saying I was ripping her away from her daughter. I said, "You're not interested in being a mother, are you? I'm freeing you from all responsibility. You can now live the life you wanted." She packed her stuff and left. My lawyer built a strong case to get full custody, hiring a full-time nanny, taking work-from-home jobs, etc. But it turned out that Janet wasn't keen on keeping the baby anyway. She didn't have a house or a job, so she didn't fight for custody at all. However, she went bonkers trying to claim alimony. I had to pay a certain amount, can't disclose, sorry, to get rid of her. But it was way too low compared to what she was demanding. It was completely worth it to get her out of my life. Kyle and her husband visited me one day to check on the baby. Kyle apologized for not informing me about Janet's hookups. She said she tried to stop Janet from cheating, but she didn't listen. She was sorry for the baby. Kyle said she was glad I took full custody because Janet wasn't involved with the baby and wouldn't be able to raise her properly like I was doing. Kyle told me that Janet would always complain about how fussy and cranky the baby was, and so on. She was overplaying her postpartum thing. Kyle's husband informed me that Janet had reached out to them for help, but he had chased her away. Since then, Janet had been shuffling from one friend's couch to another, and her drinking habit had gotten worse. I said I don't care what she does with her life now. They offered to help with babysitting. I thanked them for their kind gesture, but I don't think I'll need them. My parents have moved in with me to help with the baby, and we also have a full-time nanny, so I think the baby is going to be fine. I might let her meet her mother someday, but not now. She's just happy and safe with her dad. Hey, at least you've got full custody of your little bundle of joy. And Janet's off gallivanting through the land of couch surfing and cheap booze. It's like a modern-day fairy tale, except instead of a happily ever after, you've got a deadbeat ex and a baby who's better off without her. And as for Janet's alimony demands, well, let's just say she's about as likely to get that as she is to win the lottery while riding a unicorn. But hey, at least she's got a talent for consistency, consistently making bad life choices, that is. So here's to you, OP, bravely navigating the murky waters of divorce and custody battles, like a seasoned sailor in a sea of chaos. May your days be filled with diapers and giggles, and may Janet's antics serve as a cautionary tale for generations to come. Cheers to you, OP, you've earned every bit of peace and quiet that comes your way. What would you have done? Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.